Shukran za dhati mpenzi mtazamaji, na karibu katika Nuru Morning Show here at Mizpah TV, where we always say we keep the fire of the altar burning. Ni asubuhi njema, tunamshukuru Mungu. Ninatumai mzima. Ni asubuhi ambayo iko na baraka. We just have a moment of telling God thank you because of his grace. He has been so faithful to us. Na tunajua ya kwamba kuna mengi ambayo Mungu amezidi kututendea. Sijui wewe Mungu amekutendea nini tunapoanza mwezi wa February. May we continue in thanksgiving because the grace of God has been sufficient. Na katika studio zetu siku ya leo si yuko peke yangu, tunapoenda katika uchambuzi wa magazeti. I have my brother Kimotho. Good morning.
Good morning too.
Ninatumai mzima.
Niko mzima kabisa. Yes. Also want to say good morning to our viewers na pia kuwakaribisha kwenye show. Na pia kusema ni siku njema na kufurahia kwa sababu si kawaida kuona siku hii. So watulie pale so that you can see now what is up to the newspapers. Karibuni sana.
Asante sana. Before we dive into our conversation today, katika uchambuzi wa magazeti, we are going to have the verse of the day. And the focus of this week, tumekuwa na focus ambayo we have the focus moving to the next level. And the verse of the day today is comes from the book of Isaiah chapter 43 verse 18 to 19. The Bible says, "Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of the old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the darkness." This verse inatuambia kwamba remember not the former things. Wakati mwingine huwa tunapitia mambo ambayo ni mazito, but the Bible says remember not the former things nor consider the things of the old. It doesn't matter January imekuaje, but we are in a new month of February. The Bible says that remember not the former things, nor consider the things of the old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. God is coming and doing a new thing this morning. Ya kwamba no matter the situation that you are in, God is coming. Na anaweza kutuambia kwamba he is doing a new thing. And I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Tunajua kwamba katika jangwa hakuna maji, but God is saying that I will make a way even in that wilderness that you are passing through in your life. God is coming and making a way. So asubuhi ya leo, may you be encouraged ya kwamba God is coming and making a way. Maybe January ilikuwa ngumu, God is going to make a way. Brother Kimotho, I don't know what can you say about this verse?
Unajua, it is normal in the nature of human things.
Yeah.
Kuna the way we think, the way we perceive things. And actually hata ukiangalia wakati that is the Israelites wakati walifika pale Red Sea, they complained.
Yeah.
Wakasema tafadhali ungeturudisha kule, tuleta huku, tukufie huku jangwani, mass grave and mambo yale mengine. It is the nature of human thing, the ile mentality ambayo tuko nayo.
Yeah.
But we thank the word of God because it is always there to shape us. It is always there to direct us and to guide us on what we are supposed to do. And one thing is that kuna kitu inaitwa confidence.
Yeah.
And that is what now the word is trying now to give us. Because whenever you have confidence and whenever you have your hope on God, you focus on what is ahead.
Yeah.
Because normally tukiangalia yale ambayo yako nyuma, sometimes yataturudisha bado nyuma. Sometimes yata kuna ile perspective ambayo si kazuri anaweza tuletea.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is that kulingana vile verse imesema remember not the former things, pia inaleta perspective of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because tukibeba mambo sana, ukibeba mambo ya mengine sana, utazidi bado yanakukwaza, yanakufanya usiendelee. So there is always also a good thing is that to give all your everything unto God and to have that confidence and to move into that focus.
Yeah, that is very true. And you can also reach us through all our social media platforms. You can engage us through all our social media platforms at Mizpah TV Kenya. And also, you can share your feedback through our SMS line on 0799 200 100. And we keep the conversation going. And now, katika magazeti, I have the Daily Nation.
Okay. And I also have the Standard newspaper.
Yeah, tunaona katika gazeti letu la The Daily Nation, we have a headline that is written here, how 1 trillion body debt will hit you. And recently, according to the newspaper, the Daily Nation, the government projects to borrow 1 trillion from the local market, which is nearly the entire 1.1 trillion budget deficit for the 2026-2027 financial year. And the Daily Nation says that we have tough times ahead, that there are things that are going to be affected by this plan of the government, that kutakuwa na the loans that will be the government wants to acquire from the local market. And this story, we are going to get that story in depth katika in our and hapo ukiangalia katika headline, we are told that Kenyan loans burden has risen to over 12 trillion and higher than the recommended ceiling. And we've seen that as written, as stated here, there is mambo ambayo imeweza kufuatiliwa katika gazeti hili, na tumeona ya kwamba tumeangazia kutoka kwa uongozi wa Mwai Kibaki, kumekuwa na uongozi wa Uhuru Kenyatta, na now we have the leadership of President Ruto. And we've seen the graph on how the ceiling imezidi kupanda. Now we will get that story in page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation.
And also to add on that, the issue now to do with the economy, and jana tuliona that is the CS akijaribu kufanya description of the issues concerning the issue of the economic aspect, and also pia nikiangalia hapa also something related to that, nikiangalia hapa pia wanasema payslip shrinks as new SSF that is a rates takes effect, and nikiangalia hapa that is kunakuwa na changes ambazo zimekuwa ziko pale, because there is a reduction that is of the reduction that is mostly ambayo zimekuwa na deductions, especially na mambo na housing. Then nikiangalia hapa that is kulingana now na the Kenya Federation of Employee, that is this is the report that they were trying now to say, this is the report that is out there. The increase that came into effect, that is February 1st, raises the maximum monthly employee deduction to 6,480, that is from 4,320. Employees must match this, bringing the total pension contribution of workers to 12,960. So ukiangalia that is kunile the gap and the ceiling ambayo naona hapo wakijaribu kuweka. Wanasema the upper earnings limits the cap on pension salary jumps from 108 per month from 72. So ukiangalia hapa kuna that is an increase on certain deduction ambazo zimekuwa pale, and actually the CS also yesterday tried now to explain that kutakuwa kuna zile proposal alikuwa na proposed that is the KRA, akisema ya kwamba anybody that is earning less than 30,000 hafai kufanyia taxation, and anybody ambaye earn that is from 30 to 50 anafaa that is a reduction of a certain percentage zikiendelea pale kwa sababu ya zile deductions zimekuwa pale. So this is fact tutaangalia economically, that is kuna yale mipangilio ambayo wako nayo. Ukiangalia jana anatoa statement ya kusema ya kwamba kuna vile ambavyo wanajaribu kukab the issue of economy, then at the same time ukiangalia kuna mambo ya NSSF, then at the same time also your newspaper imesema pia kuna that plan ambayo bado kutakuwa na effect on certain issues ambazo zimekuwa pale, because the issue of economy is something that has been a challenge, and there is also an excuse that has always been there, because when this government wali take in place, the first time walianza kusema ni wanalipa yale madeni ambayo walikuta, that is from the previous that is a government. Then from there wakati wametulia wakaanza tena kusema that is sijui kwa kuja demonstration ya Gen Z, sijui finance bill. So imekuwa ni a lot of issues ambazo zimekuwa pale, but the fact remains kuna ile effect ambayo that is watu wamekuwa kifeel, naipata the effect saizi sasa imekuwa ikionekana to the civil servant, the effect pia imekuwa ikionekana now to the self employed, na pia other effects zimekuwa zikionekana that is to other areas ambazo zimekuwa ziko pale. Yes. And also according to this story, the people that are going to be affected according to the Daily Nation are the small SMEs, and it is something that is going to, the government needs to relook on that. And also in the Daily Nation page 7 we are seeing CBE, the bold dream that turned into a nightmare. This sector of education in page 7,
we see that the vision was to replace the exam focused 844 system and with CBE, emphasizing talent and self-reliance critical. And as stated here in the Daily Nation, we see there is a lot of challenges that are happening in the education sector. And according to the Daily Nation, the writer says that kumekuwa na uzito in implementation of the CBE, and we see that many of the people that have given their feedback here wanasema it was better that 844 system could be better off. And we see that when the government introduced the competency-based curriculum, it was hailed as a shift of role, and as stated here, it was the writer says that it is something that the country was not prepared for as per now, because it is a very good curriculum, yes, but the writer says that the implementation of this curriculum requires a lot of money, and it is not something that can be sustained with the current state of our nation. And the writer here says that the curriculum was poorly planned and hastily introduced in schools. The schools ambazo the introduction of that competency based curriculum was poorly planned, and it was hastily introduced na haikuwa imeeleweka katika taifa ili kuweza kujua ni mambo gani na mambo yepi ambayo yangeweza kusaidia in moving forward the CBE dream. And the competency based curriculum is initially promised learner-centered skills where they could achieve they could get skills and that focus on the education, and it was to replace the 844 system. However, years of poor planning, political interference, however, and teachers shortage and inadequate infrastructure undermine the vision. We see that kumekuwa na tatizo katika, kama vile mwandishi wa gazeti hili ameanza kuna kile kwamba there is a problem even on infrastructure. There are places that hakuna madarasa. There are places ambapo wanafunzi they don't even have classes. They just have the education under trees. And implementation of this curriculum, it is something that the government has stated here at the Daily Nation ya kwamba they need to relook and replan, because there is a lot of challenges that learners are going. And recently we've seen even wale wanafunzi ambao walikuwa wanaingia katika grade 10, there was a problem in them transiting into the next level. And I don't know, Mr. Kimotho, this is something that is affecting the nation. What is your take on what has been written in this the Daily Nation?
The same story that I can see in, that is a standard page 6. You know, the issue of grade 10, something ambayo imekuwa on the limelight, and it is just kunhaya the pioneers. Now the pioneers pia wanakuwa na a lot of challenges because there is no one who can seek what has been happening, hakuna mtu, so they learn the hard way. And the challenge inakuwa ya kwamba kuna zile ambazo effect ambazo tumekuwa tukiona, and right now kuna masuala ambayo tunaona ya textbooks. I remember this pia tukisoma last year, that is around November pale, kulikuwa pia na KICD ambao wanashughulikia na masuala ya textbooks. Tuliona pia wakicomplain wakisema mambo that is the delays of payment ambao hawajalipo ili waweze kurelease the textbook, sababu the publishers na mambo yale mengine yako pale. Tukona pia the ministry kisema they are prepared on the issue of that is infrastructure, the classrooms na mambo yale mengine, laboratory na baadhi ya mambo yale mengine ambayo yalikuwa pale. Then wakati nao that is the results za wale watoto zilitoka, tukaona kukakuwa na push. And actually because I'm also part of this wakati sasa the timeline ama the time frame tulikuwa tumepatia that is watoto kuweza kuingia pale shule, kulikuwa na push na the urge. Unakuta the school ina kupush even kulipa the whole school fees. The school ina kupush to have all the necessities that are needed. Na pia unakuta ya kwamba mnapushia to do certain things. So baada ya haya yote na the pressure na kila kitu ambacho wazazi waleza kutimiza, now the government has come now on the other side that is now failing to fulfill their part, because wazazi wengi sana 90% ya wazazi wali try as much as they can to fulfill now their part. Just maybe a few percentage ndio tuliona maybe ya wale ambao hawakuwa wanajiweza, na tuliona wafadhili na the government wakikam hand in hand to a system. So actually now I can see now pia gazeti la Standard that is on page 6 wanasema school struggles to teach pioneers grade 10 that is classes without textbooks, and actually I can see that is kulingana na gazeti la Standard hapo wanasema some teachers are still that is adjusting to new classroom layouts, and that is approaches including that is students that is seated in that is circles rather than facing the teacher. In Nakuru some schools have received only English textbooks, while a school in that is Makueni received just 145 books in that is in some of the learning areas. So ukiangalia that is kulingana na the statement that is here, only about 60% of textbooks and that is reach to schools, leaving more than 450 learners without essential materials. So this is something that is very critical, because ukiangalia the same thing, ukiangalia hapa pia Nyeri, ukiangalia Kitutu, Masaba, that is tunaona pia the same thing ambayo inasemekana hapa, na pia ukiangalia now the principals pia wanajaribu ku cry out pale, but now ukiangalia now the statement that the CS is also giving, ukiangalia now whatever now the assurance they are trying to say, and the reality of things is that there's still a challenge, because up to now, if at all the government has not released the textbooks that are needed, it means that also the operation is moving very slow, and also at the same time they will not be able now to meet the curriculum that they need to meet now, that is for the first time, that is in this first term. So inamaanisha kuna a lot of challenges that need to be resolved. That is we know it is a first, tunajua it is a new system, but at the same time is also good also for the ministry also to take charge, because nikiangalia upande hiyo gazeti pia imesema kumekuwa na political interference. The other regime is that the CS were not involved in politics. They were supposed now to go and spearhead their work in their that is a concerned ministries. That is now the challenge that we are able now to see whenever there is a conflict of interest, especially now from the politicians in a certain ministry, that was kuna certain delays ambazo zimekuwa ziko hapa. So it is also that is an urge from the parents that the government to fulfill their part, so that now that is this system can be easy, that is on both sides. Yes.
Yes, and this NURU morning show is proudly sponsored by Mizpah Prayer Center. This is a place of prayer ambapo unakuja as a team and also as an individual, a place that has serene environment for you to come and just have a time in the presence of the Lord. And as we continue, I'll give you the number that you'll be able to reach out for that Mizpah Prayer Center. And also in the Daily Nation, we have a story in page 12 about politics, and there is developments that are coming. And yesterday we saw that Kisumu residents endorsed ODM Ruto talks. And this is something that is developing. And as the writer states here, Kisumu residents yesterday backed ongoing talks between Orange Democratic Movement ODM and President William Ruto ahead of 2027. And we saw that as written here that the ODM walimwambia the deputy president ambaye ni Kithure Kindiki that they are not interested in that seat. But the writer says here, how will they negotiate if there is no position that they are going to they are bargaining for? So as stated here, speaking during the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement Nyota Business Support Program in Kisumu, Dr. Oginga emphasized that ODM is not limited to any ethnic group, that our party is not a Luo party, it is a party for the whole of Kenya. And we've seen that stated here that kumekuwa na wanasiasa ama wale wa viongozi, kumekuwa na miungano tofauti, and something that has been stated here, it is there is also a looming handshake between the former president, the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, and also the deputy the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, ambao it is written that there is a looming handshake that is coming. which was it is stated that it was brokered by the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Basajo. And here it is stated that the Homa Bay governor and ODM national chairperson Gladys Wanga addressed youths during the disbursement of Nyota business startup funds at Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu County. And she still emphasized that they will negotiate not to take anyone's share, but to ensure that everyone gets a fair portion of the national cake. And we've seen recently, as stated here, there are two factions in the ODM party, and it is something that is very interesting, and there will be very interesting times ambazo zinakuja. As stated here that they said that they don't have an agenda, vision, policy or plan. They said that the opposition doesn't have an agenda, vision or policy or plan, and they say that they want them and the youth to have a plan for the and receive that Nyota money. The president defended his administration record on education, saying it addresses structures or challenges inherited from the previous government. The president illustrated that mambo ambao wamekuwa kipitia even financially, that most of them, as written here at the Daily Nation, that most of the problems were inherited from the other government. And the president went ahead to promise that they will work hand in hand with the ODM party, and this is going to see a lot of political shift, as stated here. The Kisumu event saw 220 million disbursement to 8,820 youth entrepreneurs from 105 wards, and each beneficiary receives 50,000. It is something that Kimotho is very the politics na nikidhani sasa imeanza kupamba moto.
Actually, you know, our nation politics, tunaanza politics immediately after election, tunaanza politics, so we are always in campaign and political moods everywhere. We have never been akujai kuwa na distinction between when to start politics, when to stop politics. So, and actually now the other interesting thing is that tuliona that is the ODM members now declare their merge with the UDM. And yesterday, even if they say that Kisumu resident declared, it is now upon now the ODM delegates that is now to meet and declare and also decide, because it's only the delegates that can give that is a certain move, certain decision when it comes now to the party activities. Nevertheless, that we can also see the other political shake-up, because people thought the issue of handshake, the issue of nusu mkate, people use now to, you know, the time that the former prime minister and the late, that is the prime minister, used now to address these issues, it came up with a negative impression to people. Because wanakuwa nasema huyu anasema mambo ya nusu mkate, anasema mambo ya nini, that is handshake, sijui nini. But that is now the new formality that now we have been able to see. Na ukiangalia now the merger between the ODM and UDM, at the same time also on united opposition pia nao wanajipanga, because I remember that is on 202 is when all the political parties, they came together against KANU. That's why now they were able now to gain that is the regime of the day. Now nikiangalia hapa pia gazeti la Standard, there is a picture of the former President NURU Kenyatta, former Vice President, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, and former Deputy President, that is Rigathi Gachagua. And there is a comment that is from Jubilee Party leader, that is Jeremiah Kioni. There will be no problem if Gachagua meet Uhuru. Gachagua has wanted to meet Uhuru, and that is to meet Uhuru, and Uhuru has never said he doesn't want to meet him. So their meetup will be interesting. That is what he said. So that is also another source, that is pia ambayo imeandikwa hapa. Talks between the opposition leaders kicked off since the Lagos meeting. That is why the united opposition are now attending meetings together, and the cohesion will be, that is a rubber stamp when Uhuru meets Gachagua. So you know, sometimes in politics, if you want something to be done, you can create a propaganda that seems to be true, that also seems to be favorable, and also that seems to be what people want. Those are some of the things that normally happen, because propaganda spread out that is a fast, and actually sometimes they bring up certain things that you could have never imagined could have happened. And one of the issues that we saw that Gachagua during the campaign, he was the right hand that is our president. Na at that time tuliona that is he went even out to the central region, na tuliona kuna vile ambavyo aliweza kufanya campaign against the Azimio aspect ambayo ilikuwa inaongozwa na Mheshimiwa Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, a former president. So right now, after now the impeachment na mambo yale mengine ambayo yalifanyika, tuliona pia kirudi pale, the self said that is Mlima trying out to say that he's the kingpin and so many other things that were there. But now kulingana na vile ambavyo walipata, that is still the former president, that is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, still bado wako na say upande ule mwingine. So that's why now you can see kuna hizi sentiment ambazo ziko pale, wanasema if the two meet and merge and have a talk, that is now kutakuwa na another shake up ambayo itakuwa iko pale. Then at the same time we saw that is last year there was that is a meeting, and we saw the former Nigeria president, that is Obasanjo, na pia walikutana na our former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, ambao pia waliweza kukutana na our former vice president, that is Kalonzo Musyoka. Na tuliona kulile picture ambayo ilikuwa pale ambayo ili surprise a lot of people. And unajua nao wakati unarate in opposition ama wakati tunarate in this that is a scenario, ukiona pamoja kuna ile sentiment ambayo wanakuwa nayo, tunasema hii wameenda kuzungumza, wameenda kuwa na talk ya mambo kama haya, and maybe we don't know because both of them pia wako na their own diplomatic activities ambazo wanakuwa wako nazo pale. But this is something ambayo imekuwa ikiongelelewa sana, and kwa sababu tumekuwa tukiona kuna zile merge of the parties. So because Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is the party leader of Jubilee, and also Kalonzo Musyoka is also the party leader of Wiper, and also now that is the former that is a deputy president Rigathi Gachagua is also in DCP. So you can see at the end of the day, even if we talk about them in person, but at the same time kuna ile title ambao wako nayo politically. So inamaanisha kutakuwa na maji ambao zitakuwa ziko pale, and because na pia kuna other leaders ambao pia wako opposition, kuna kama that is Martha Karua, kuna Eugene Wamalwa na wale wengine ambao pia wako in opposition. So wale wote wanajipanga because the agenda and the same thing is now to that is ni kwa sababu ya masuala ya election ambayo inakuja, that is 2027, and also at the same time every part wants to be in government. So these are some of the things ambazo tumekuwa tukiona, na pia tumekuwa tukiona kuna circulation ambayo pia imekuwa ikitokea pale, that is insinuating that the former president and the former that is a deputy president kutakuwa na ile meet ambayo itakuwa iko pale. But all these things tutaweza kuziona because saizi we in that campaign mood, we are in that political mood. So kuna mambo fulani ambayo yatakuwa that is yakiangalia, that's unaona pia mambo ya ODM pia inaangalia sana na pale na UDA, and there are reasons as to why they are trying now to do that merger, as we can try to see.
Yes. And it is something that is going to itazidi kubadilika as time goes. And also in the Daily Nation we have another story here, and it states that stop impunity in the bid of cover up church attack. And we've seen recently there was a lot of leaders, kama vile imeandikwa hapa katika the Daily Nation, viongozi wengi walijitokeza na kuweza kukashifu kitendo kile ambacho watu ama waumini katika kanisa pale Nyeri waliweza kurushiwa tear gas and they were tortured in that service. And the shameless attack on a church in Nyeri County by suspected rogue police officers has been roundly condemned. President Ruto not only denounced it but also called for respect to and the sanctity of the places of worship. And this is a matter ambayo imeandikwa hapa katika gazeti hili la The Daily Nation, and it said that the president aliweza kukashifu pia tukio hilo ambalo lilitukia, na akaweza kuuliza viongozi wote kuweza kuheshimu kanisa na pia mahala pa maabudu. Na it is something that is very interesting because we've no as stated here, there is no one that has been found, wale ambao waliweza kutekeleza kitendo hicho, no one has been ameshikwa ama ameweza kupelekwa into koti ama the places where they were needed to be summoned. and it is something that written here, for their part, opposition leaders have given the government 2 weeks ultimatum to arrest and prosecute suspects, however growing the public's skepticism. And it is something that as stated here in the Daily Nation, ni jambo ambalo linahusu sana sana viongozi ambao wameweza wale ambao wako katika upinzani wameweza kuiarifu serikali ya kwamba they need a push, that wale ambao waliweza kutekeleza mambo haya they be found, waweze kuchukua ile majukumu ama their tutasema yale mambo ambayo walitenda waweze kujukumika ili waweze haki ikaweza kupatikana. And we've seen that the IPOA and the DCI wametoa ripoti zao, and that the armed men in civilian clothes backed by police fired live bullets and lured tear gas at worshippers, destroying motor vehicles, burying heads, and sound like proverbial ostrich. This is something that is very, 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 very sad. And as we've seen here in the Daily Nation, it is something that the people are calling for justice, that everyone that was found in that church ambao waliweza kuadhibiwa katika kanisa lile na kuweza kudhulumiwa, that they receive their haki yao.
It's very unfortunate, and also it's something that should not even be hard again, because wakati unaleta distractions in the place of worship, it's something that sio mzuri, and also at the same time trying to politicize certain issues is also not good, because we saw now there is a statement from the government side, the police side, and also there is also another statement now from the other side of opposition, and also at the same time there is also a stand of the churches. So I think now through the organization of the churches, the NCCK, they should come up now with a conclusive solution, because saizi tunaelekea the campaign period. The politicians will now be wanting to come with the churches. Now they want to be, wanataka wakuja wasome na nyinyi, wanataka wakuja wafanye nini. They want now all the connection they have, because they know also through the church it is a gathering that has been gathered on other different avenues without them planning for it, and also pia watakuwa na freeway, because normally either you have a political rally where you do mobilization, either self mobilization, people come, or you pay them to come. Pia kunakuwa na the other meetings that politicians they do, convey meetings whenever now pia wataweza maybe now to facilitate transport for the other people. But in other functions like burials in churches, these people have been gathered by different activities there, so you find them there. So they always try to take advantage of the situation. So the only thing now we can do is to limit the activities that they come to do, because at the end of the day, so that we'll learn the effect iliacha to that area. The politicians walikuja wakaenda, but now the effect is iliacha to that area. So it's something that also the churches themselves, they need to come up with a certain way that they can be able to do, because this is a campaign that is a period until now we enter to the general election.
Yes, and that is something that we urge the government that it needs to be looked upon. Yes. So in other stories that yesterday kulikuwa na that is so many people are stranded. City commuters stranded amid matatu dispute that a function of matatu operators went on strike yesterday morning, leaving thousands of Nairobi commuters stranded. So the protest over vehicle torching and driver attacks caused chaos across states and the CBD. So kumekuwa na recent cases where kumekuwa na accident, then the border riders wanna take that is wanna take action by themselves. Wanakuja nasema hii gari ndio ilikuwa na makosa, wanaichoma. So na wakati wanaichoma, they have taken the law by their hands. Then at the same time pia kuna the issue of economic, that is issues ambazo zimekuwa pale, because there was a certain way that issue could have been addressed. Because ukiangalia nao kama hiyo gari maybe ni alone, ama hata kama si alone, the owner ama the owner of the vehicle economically umemtoa. So and ukiangalia pia now at the same time, that is kuna zile that is the traffic rules ambazo zinakuwa ziko pale. That's why now we have our train that is police officers ambao huwa wanakuja na wanaweza kudetermine the cases. So yesterday we saw that is kulikuwa na hiyo strike ambayo ilifanyika pale. Na nikiangalia hapa that is
that is Albert, president of the Matatu Owners Association, ali-address kuna hizo issues ambazo zimekuwa pale. Then at the same time kumekuwa na police intimidation ambazo zimekuwa zikionekana pale. So these are some of the issues, because you know the matatu industry, it is one of the industry ambao pia economically inatusaidia na ku raise revenue ambazo that is zinatusaidia sana pale. Then at the same time kuna so many that is people ama commuters ambao wana depend now with that is that transportation that is ambayo inakuwa provided that is na matatu pale. Na ukiangalia watu wengi walikuwa stranded pale because these are some of the things ambazo zimekuwa zikiendelea pale. But the issue here we are saying is that sometimes when we take law on our hands, sometimes inakuwa because unajua the police vile wamekuwa trained, kuna vile wamekuwa trained kukuja kuhandle those issues. That's why now we have also peer the courts ambazo ziko pale to be able now to determine the cases that has been there. So in these scenarios that is unakuta that is an accident imefanyika, watu wanakimbia pale wanachoma hiyo gari without necessarily knowing what has been happening. But whenever they are doing that, they are doing that because on favorism of one side. So that's why now pia the matatu owners pia hiyo ilikuwa one of the reason ambapo pia ilikuwa inafanya that is wafanye protest because kumekuwa na hiyo issue ambayo imekuwa ikiendelea pale. So it is also good to read out this issue so that now wale ambao pia wana depend na the public transport waangalie na that is wakuwa aware, because wengi walikuwa caught up unaware, hawakuwa wanajua. Na pia ukiangalia wengine wao walichelewa makazi, wengine that is kulikuwa na issues ambazo zilikuwa pale. But also at the same time these issues need to be addressed so that now people should stop taking laws on their hands.
Yeah, that is very true. And we know ni mambo ambayo yatangaziwa na serikali, and we urge the government also to work on that as written in the standard. And also here we have a story that is so interesting, that Kenya cheating cultures worries. This is something ambayo tumeona in the sports field, and it is something that katika gazeti la The Daily Nation imeangaziwa ya kwamba most of the athletes in Kenya, they are using drugs or doping. This is something ambayo imeonekana sana, and most of a sports headline in The Daily Nation last week revealed that at least 20 young Kenyans, international athletes, have been found guilty of age cheating or either pia wamekuwa katika doping. So it is something that as a nation is placing us in a place ambayo it is very wanting, because tumeona ya kwamba kumekuwa na muongezeko, as stated here in The Daily Nation, kumekuwa na muongezeko ya kwamba vijana ambao are in their sports in the sports field, they are cheating. And if we read here, the culprits in this case are not just the athletes caught out, but the entire ecosystem which goes even away beyond athletics in Kenya. And also, as we've seen here, it will be simple thing for athletes in Kenya, anti-doping agency, to go beyond merely planning individual athletes who fail drug test and extend the net coach and the net coaches, managers, training camps, and also athletes. And this is something that as a nation we really need to look at, because taifa la Kenya ni taifa ambalo limeenzi michezo. Na as we see a story like this, it is something that is making us to be worried, because we've been very active in athletes. Na it is something that is raising concern in the newspaper ya kwamba Kenya's cheating culture is very worrying. Yeah.
So those are some of the things that they need to be addressed, because pia at the same time the peer information is toke pale, maybe now trying now to discourage the, you know, because unajua sisi tunajulikana sana especially when it comes to athletics, because tumekuwa tukiona other nations pia wamekuwa kijaribu kupoach some of athletics na wanakuwa ili waweze kununuliwa na other nations. So we really hope, because kumekuwa na testing ambazo zimekuwa ziko pale, so we are really hoping that this information is going out to become out clearly. As we wind up here, nikiangalia hapa naona used, that is a car imports faces curb as proposed new the proposed law nears adoptions. So wale wana biashara wa magari wanaweza enda kwa gazeti la Standard, that is on the business sector, waweza kuangalia ni sheria gani hiyo ambayo that is itaweza kupitishwa pale, and among other stories ambazo zitakuwa hapa. Tumesoma a few, but nikiangalia gazeti la Standard na masuala ya biashara na masuala yale mengine ambayo yako pale.
Yeah. Tunashukuru sana kwa utazamaji wako, and it is a very good morning as we get to see things that have been stated in the newspaper. And it is something that wakati ambapo utanunua gazeti lako utaweza kuangalia mambo mengi, na tumeweza tu kuchambua kwa kifupi, na I just want to acknowledge all those that are following us through all our social media platforms at Mizpah TV Kenya, and thank you to those who are sending us their feedbacks and telling us where they are watching us from in our SMS line of 0799 200 100. And tunapomaliza kipindi hiki cha Nuru Morning Show, it is something that kama wa Kenya, I just want to urge us that we keep peace in everything that we are doing. And thank you so much for watching the Nuru Morning Show, and you keep Mizpah TV.